Jannik Sinner walked out for his first match with no idea he would almost lose it. 2 weeks later, he was still standing, drenched in sweat, holding a trophy no Italian man had ever defended before. He beat blood, bad nerves, and the game's biggest server to get there. This is the full story of how Jannik Sinner just made history at Wimbledon. Before any of this happened, Novak Djokovic gave a warning. 2 days before the final, he talked about facing Alexander Zverev on grass. He said you cannot read his first serve. He said the ball comes in wide, down the middle, or straight at the body, and there is no way to guess which one is next. Djokovic knew this from experience. He had just lost to Zverev's serve in the semifinal. But Djokovic did not lose to Zverev. He lost to Sinner. 2 rounds earlier, in the semifinal, Sinner beat Djokovic in straight sets. That win meant more than it looked like on paper. Months earlier, at the Australian Open, Djokovic had beaten Sinner. This was payback, and Sinner took it clean. No fifth-set drama, no slow start. He shut the door and moved on to the final. That win also gave Djokovic something else to remember him by. During that tournament, Djokovic became the oldest man to ever reach a Wimbledon semifinal in the modern era. He broke Roger Federer's record for the most match wins in Wimbledon history. He played the longest quarterfinal the tournament has ever seen, over 5 hours long. Djokovic gave everything he had. It still was not enough to stop Sinner. By beating the most loved champion in the sport on the biggest stage, Sinner proved something. His run to the final was not luck. It was control. Djokovic has been chasing his 25th Grand Slam title for years now, and every young star in the sport keeps getting in his way. This time it was Sinner, and he did it without dropping a set. Djokovic was asked after the loss if he would come back to Wimbledon next year at 40 years old. He said yes. At least one more time. A champion who cannot leave this place alone, even after losing to the man who is now writing the next chapter of the sport. But 2 rounds before that semi-final, control was the last thing Sinner had. In the first round, Sinner played Miomir Kecmanovic. On paper, this should have been simple. Sinner had never lost a single set to him before. Instead, the match ran 3.5 hours and went the full 5 sets. Here is the number that shows how rare this was. The last time Sinner had won a 5-set match was the 2024 Australian Open final. Since then, he had lost 8 of his next 9 matches that reached a deciding set. The pressure of a 5th set had become his biggest weakness. In the first set, Sinner was up 40-love on his own serve. Then he lost 9 points in a row. The best player in the world just handed the game away. In the third set, he slipped on the grass, got up and slipped again. This time his knee buckled. He kept playing, but blood started coming through his shoe. He still won. His serve carried him. He hit 31 aces that day, but he also made 52 unforced errors, more than double what he normally allows. It was messy. It was far from perfect, but it was a win, and it sent a message to the rest of the draw. Every other player left in the tournament saw a champion who could be pushed to the edge. Some of them thought that meant Sinner was cracking. They were wrong. That match on day 1 turned out to be the only time in the entire tournament that Sinner looked human. From that point forward, he dropped just 2 more sets across 6 rounds, both of them decided by tiebreaks. The man who almost lost in round 1 walked into the final having barely been tested since. While Sinner was fighting off Kecmanovic and grinding past Djokovic, Alexander Zverev was building the best few months of his career. 6 weeks before Wimbledon, he had won his first Grand Slam title at the French Open. He arrived at Wimbledon not as an underdog anymore, but as a champion who finally silenced years of criticism. Zverev had never beaten Sinner in 9 tries. He had never even taken a set off him in 14 straight sets played across their past matches. But this was a different Zverev. He had a Grand Slam trophy behind him, and it showed in the first set of the final. Both men held serve through the entire first set. No breaks, no mistakes. Novak Djokovic beat both future world number ones back-to-back to end his season. He tied the record for most Grand Slam titles by any man in history. He did all this at 36 years old, 1 year after being kicked out of a country and banned from a major tournament. Most players fade by their mid-30s. Djokovic got stronger. This is the story of how he did it and why the tennis world almost didn't let him finish the job. Today, fans cheer for Djokovic almost everywhere he plays. Young players call him a mentor. Rivals say he is one of the kindest people on tour. But this love did not come easy. For most of his career, Djokovic was the guy fans loved to boo. Before we get to why, let's talk about what changed on the court first, because that part of the story explains everything else. Djokovic turned pro in 2003. For years, he was talented but inconsistent. He retired from matches often. He struggled with breathing problems. Fans thought he was faking injuries to avoid tough losses. Then in 2010, doctors found the real problem. Djokovic had a gluten intolerance. His body could not process the foods he was eating every day. He cut gluten and dairy from his diet. He added more vegetables, rice, and small clean meals. Within months, his energy on court changed completely. He also started practicing mindfulness for 15 minutes every day. Before this, he played scared in big moments. He admitted that he used to change his style depending on the score, playing safe instead of aggressive when it mattered most. Mindfulness fixed that. He learned to accept his thoughts instead of fighting them. This let him play every point like he already believed he would win it. The results were instant. In 2011, Djokovic won 43 matches in a row. He won 7 titles in a row. He finished the year 70-6. That season turned him from a good player into a legend in the making. Here is the part fans forget. As Djokovic got better, he got less popular, not more. Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal were already tennis royalty. Fans loved their rivalry. It felt complete with just the two of them. Then, Djokovic showed up and started beating both of them. Over and over. Fans did not see a new champion. They saw a party crasher. Every flaw Djokovic had got magnified because of this. When he smashed a racket, people called him unstable. When Federer or Nadal did the same thing, fans called it passion. When Djokovic called for a medical timeout, people assumed he was lying, even though doctors later confirmed real injuries almost every time. One example still shocks fans today. At the 2023 Australian Open, Djokovic played the entire tournament with a hamstring tear measuring 3 centimeters. His own coach said most players would have quit the tournament immediately. Djokovic stayed in and won the whole thing. But the hate reached its peak in 2022. Djokovic was deported from Australia over his vaccine status. He missed the US Open completely. He won Wimbledon that year, but the tournament had no ranking points, so even that title came with an asterisk. On top of all this, a new generation was rising fast. Carlos Alcaraz became the youngest male world number 1 in tennis history. Jannik Sinner and Holger Rune were closing in. It looked like the sport was ready to move on from Djokovic completely. Most players in his position would have slowed down. Djokovic did the opposite. Djokovic started 2023 with something rare for a player who had already won almost everything. He had something to prove again. He opened the season in Adelaide and nearly lost the final to Sebastian Korda, saving a championship point before winning the title. That set the tone. Nothing would come easy this year, but nothing would be given away either. At the Australian Open, the crowd tension was obvious. Fans still remembered the deportation. Djokovic played through it and through the hidden hamstring injury and won his 10th Australian Open title. That made 22 Grand Slams total, tying Rafael Nadal. Then his form dropped hard. He lost matches in Dubai, Monte Carlo, and Rome. Nadal was out with injury. Alcaraz sat at world number 1. The road to Roland Garros looked uncertain. But Djokovic turned it on when it mattered. He beat Alcaraz in the semi-final after Alcaraz suffered cramps under the pressure of the match. Then he beat Casper Ruud in the final to win his 23rd Grand Slam. Passing Nadal for the most men's Grand Slam titles in history. He became the first man ever to win all 4 majors at least 3 times each. 2 slams down. The calendar Grand Slam, something no man had done since 1969, was still alive. At Wimbledon, Djokovic had not lost on center court in a decade. He reached the final again, this time against Alcaraz. He won the first set in just 34 minutes. It looked over already. Then Alcaraz fought back and forced a tiebreak in the second set, and won it. In the third set, the 2 players played a single game that lasted 26 minutes with 13 deuces. Novak Djokovic has 24 Grand Slams. He just called himself half a step late on every shot he hit against one man. Andre Agassi says there is no breathing room once you're on court with him. Brad Gilbert, the coach who built Andre Agassi into a champion, says he cannot name a single player who beats this guy on his best day. This is not normal praise. This is the entire GOAT conversation shifting in real time, and it centers on one 24-year-old from the Italian Alps named Jannik Sinner. Start with the men who genuinely love watching him play. Andre Agassi, one of only 8 men in history to complete the career Grand Slam, says Sinner reminds him of his own game, but modern. Agassi points to the refusal to ever step backward, the flat clean ball striking, and the way Sinner never wastes a shot. Agassi went further and said that when Sinner is hitting from both wings, you cannot even tell which hand is stronger, because both sides hurt you the same. That is coming from a man who lived through the toughest matchups tennis has ever produced. Brad Gilbert agrees, and Gilbert does not throw around compliments lightly. He coached Agassi to multiple Grand Slam titles, and has broken down tennis for over 2 decades. Gilbert says if you put Agassi and Novak Djokovic in a blender, you get Sinner. Ball control mixed with offense, built for the modern game. Gilbert also pointed out something the stats prove. Across 9 straight matches against Alexander Zverev, Sinner dominated on serve every single time. Gilbert called that a pattern, not luck. Patrick Mouralolu coached Serena Williams to 10 Grand Slam titles, and when he studied Sinner's game after the 2026 Wimbledon semifinal,